Welcome. I'm so honored that you're joining me today on Reclaim Your Life. I'm Duane, the host and the producer of the show. I'm a life recovery coach, but I really think of myself more as a transformational guide for women, helping them reclaim their lives and discover their authentic voice. This is the third season of Reclaim Your Life, featuring leading visionaries and heart-centered business women whose passion through their work is to serve others and to share their gifts and make the universe a better place. Each guest will share how they have transcended extraordinary challenges, in some cases trauma, loss, and unbelievable situations that most of us don't even experience. And they have become the women they are today by stepping back into their power and reclaiming their life. I'm so honored to have with me today Dr. Veronique Desaulniers, better known as Dr. V. She has maintained a successful practice in the wellness field since 1978. Because of her passion for health and wellness, Dr. V undertook extensive studies in various fields of energy medicine, specializing in chiropractic, bioenergetics, meridian stress analytics, homeopathy, digital thermography, and Dr. V brings a unique approach to health and wellness. After 30 years in an active practice, she decided to retire and devote her time sharing her personal, non-toxic healing journey with breast cancer. Her years of experience and research have culminated as the 7 Essential Steps, a step-by-step coaching program. Dr. V has a #1 best-selling book on Amazon, which is called Breast Cancer Naturally. She's also a best-selling author. Her website and her personal healing journey have touched the lives of thousands of women around the globe, and I know that she is going to just reach out to all of you listening today and share so much that's going to help you. Veronique, it's an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me and sharing my message of hope. I appreciate it, Mel.
You know, breast cancer are 2 of the scariest words that women can ever hear. And look at you. Not only have you had it, you're radiating, you're wonderful, you're living an empowered life, you're helping so many women heal from that trauma and that fear. But let's step back a bit. Let's rewind the movie a little and tell us a little bit about your journey to get where you are today, because we know everybody's had huge challenges that's on this show, and I'd love for you to share yours.
Well, where do I start?
Wherever you're comfortable.
Okay. So basically, my upbringing was not the easiest. I grew up in a home where there was some serious alcoholism from both parents. I was the middle child. I was sexually abused from the age of 3 to 5 by a convicted pedophile. And none of this conversation about the sexual abuse really took place until I was in my mid-40s. So for many, many years, I carried around this very dark, gloomy, sad, lonely part of myself. I was a very wounded child that grew up as an adult and was searching for just searching for that happiness. And no matter what I did, like many people, I found escape in alcohol and relationships. And even though I was a wellness doctor, a chiropractor, there was some moments that were fairly dark. But what really got me on my serious healing journey was when I discovered I had breast cancer. Now, that was in itself a huge shock, because I was in practice and I was helping people reverse such diseases as lupus and cancer and multiple sclerosis, because I was teaching them how to apply the laws of nature and using, different modalities. So when I discovered I had it, it was a huge aha moment for me. It was a real turning point, because I realized that if I kept doing the things I'd always done, I'd get the same results. And so that began my physical healing journey. But it also opened up the door for transformation, because as I tell the women that I coach today, healing your body is not just about the physical lump or bump, but it's about a emotional transformation in your life. You have to learn to love yourself. You have to learn to nurture yourself. You have to learn to forgive and to let go and to really create happiness and joy in your life. And one of the books that I encourage women to read as they're going on a healing journey is called Getting Well Again by Dr. Carl Simonton. And I love his quote. He says, "Look at cancer as a messenger of love, because it's tapping you on the shoulder and it's telling you it's time for a life change in all aspects of your life."
Do you think because you were abused as a child, it was never discussed, recognized, or dealt with, that you had this pain and really almost like buried in you that could have manifested and showed up physically? Do you think anything about burying that pain showed up?
Absolutely, because as I mentioned, I was in an adult body, but I was acting as a wounded child. And interestingly, when you look at the breast and the emotional attachments and the meridians that are attached to it, it has a lot to do with the mothering aspect, which I was, not nurtured as a child. My mother, bless her soul, I mean, she did the best she knew how with what she had. But the nurturing aspect was definitely not there. The left side of the body is the mother, the nurturing side, or the lack of, the guilt, the fear, all those things that have a lot to do with it. So there's definitely an emotional connection there. And Dr. Lisa Rankin, I love this quote. She says, you can, when your life falls apart, you can grow your life or grow a tumor. And that's basically what happens with a lot of women, or a lot of people with cancer in general. They stuff their emotions, they don't deal with their life, they don't manage their stress, and as a result, their body manifests it in, lumps or bumps.
So, what could you suggest for women, let's just say women, let's start with women that maybe haven't even been diagnosed yet, that are suppressing the emotional traumas and disappointments and all of that. How do they bring that up so it doesn't manifest into a tumor or some other illness?
Get a handle on your life. Just really take the time to nurture yourself, because nobody's going to do that for you. And, we live in such a fast-paced, hectic world that it's so important to pull away from that. One of the things that I really discovered that helped me a lot was meditation, and to really calm the mind, calm the body. And we know from a scientific point of view that meditation expands the neurons in the brain. It boosts your immune system. It lowers your cortisol levels. And so just taking the time to breathe and to release those things is so important. And, looking at your patterns, not just your emotional patterns, but also look at your physical patterns, because what you put inside your body physically, your food, the things you put on your skin, will eventually either feed your body or feed the cancer. It's pretty simple.
Tell me a little bit more about things that we put on our body or things that we're putting into our body that you find alarming.
Well, essential number one is called let food be your medicine. And, people often ask me, what's the perfect anti-cancer diet? Well, there's no one size fits all, but basically, if you can eat about 80% raw of your food, 80% raw, and obviously mostly organic if you can. But then on the flip side, you want to avoid certain things like the plague. And the first thing to avoid is sugar. Sugar feeds cancer, and sugar lowers your immune resistance. Cancer cells have more insulin receptor sites than our healthy cells. Our healthy cells breathe with oxygen. Cancer cells breathe with sugar. So reducing your sugar content in your food is absolutely essential. And then essential number 2 is to reduce your toxic exposure. So you look at what you put on your skin. The lotions and the potions that the average person puts on their skin exposes them to 167 chemicals per day. Many of those have not been tested, and many of those are carcinogenic. And so look at anything that you put on your skin is like feeding your body. So sunscreens and moisturizers and shampoos and antiperspirants. The aluminum in the antiperspirant is what we call a metalloestrogen. It mimics estrogen and it stimulates estrogen right in that breast area. Products that have parabens, paraben is a preservative that's found in most cosmetics. Breast cancer tumors have high levels of parabens in them. So just being conscious, be a conscious consumer and be aware that whatever you put on your skin ends up in your body.
Ooh, the sugar. I never knew that. Oh my goodness. And
Really?
I like sugar.
Okay.
Having been an alcoholic, I love sugar.
Uh-huh.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to make a note on that. So, how did you detect your cancer? How did that come about? You're a doctor, you're smart. What happened?
Typical morning. I was in practice for 25 years, headed to the office, jumped in the shower, did a breast check, and boom, there it was. It was one of those moments that I'll never forget. I innately knew that it was not benign. I knew that it was not a healthy bump that I felt. And I chose to have it tested with non-traditional means. I did not have a biopsy. I did not have a mammogram. I did bioenergetic testing, which basically confirmed. And then I also used a salve, which had a bloodroot and specific herbs in it. And when you apply it to a superficial tumor, if it reacts and creates an inflammatory reaction, then we know that there's some cancerous cells there. And after applying that salve for several weeks, then eventually the tumor came to the surface and was excreted from my body, which is kind of shocking for most people to understand that. But, that's something that's been done for thousands of years around the globe.
I saw pictures in your book, so I know. I mean, I saw that wound.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. How long did that
is.
process take to really get this under control and to get well?
Well, it took initially about 4 weeks just for the tumor to fall out, but that's no different than a lumpectomy. You can cut out the tumor, but you still have to heal the body internally. So I monitored it with blood work and with bioenergetic testing and thermography. And I was on my protocol. I did lots of juicing, some cleansing, high doses of enzymes, proteolytic and pancreatic enzymes every hour on the hour, tinctures, all kinds of things. But as I monitored, I realized that there was still some activity in the breast and realized that, I wasn't making headway. So got a little bit more serious with certain things. And then I reapplied the salve a second time, this time a much more effective one. And this time I had supervision by a doctor who'd been doing this for over 10 years. And the second one was a complete success. The tissue that came out was very clean. And a few months later, another thermogram, and everything was clear. And so since 2006, everything has been clean and clear.
And now you see you've passed that 5-year window, which is always that very scary period for anyone. It's going to reoccur. What do you know? What stage you were? Do you have any idea?
No,
No?
I didn't. You
No.
know, I chose not to do a biopsy simply because of the invasion of the tumor and how it just opens up the tumor and just spills millions and millions of cancer cells into the body. So I'm not too fond of biopsies. Sometimes they're necessary, and some women want to know, which I honor that. But for me, I chose not to do that.
Even on a needle biopsy, it can do that? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, because you're puncturing the layer, the thick layer of the tumor. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So, what inspired you to write your book?
Well, it was one of those things after I retired, quote unquote, from my practice, after being in practice for 30 years. I just started sharing my story online with women, and one thing led to another. And before I knew it, I was coaching women in 17 countries. And, technology is incredible. Who would have thought, from being a hands-on practitioner, brick and mortar, to learning how to do it on the internet. It was quite a transformation for me. And I always knew that I wanted to write a book. There was just something inside of me. I want to share my story. I want to give women hope and to know that whether you want to prevent or whether you choose traditional medicine or whether you want to do natural medicine, the cause is all the same and the healing is all the same. And, I honor and respect women of all types and whatever treatment method they use, because I work with all kinds of women. And so the book was really a way for me to express myself. It was a very cathartic experience, sharing my emotional aspect of it. I felt very vulnerable talking about things in my book, but it was to let women know that it's okay, that if you have dark periods in your life, that once you learn to embrace your magnificence and to let your light shine, and you have confidence in yourself, and you really learn to nurture and love yourself, then it's time to let the world know who you are. And that's basically what the book was. And I'm very, very happy to say that it's touched the lives of thousands of women all around the world, and it's been a great guide, and I'm so happy that I did it.
Two questions for you. When you were going through your regimen for the breast cancer, where were you at in your life as far as support? Were you married? Were you in a relationship? Were you single? What was happening at that point?
I had just gone through a very traumatic divorce, which, interestingly, typically 18 months to 2 years after a very emotional, traumatic event, oftentimes cancer will manifest itself. And so I've been through a very, very traumatic divorce, and I was single and, on my own. And so it was challenging, to do that. I was very blessed. I have very loving, supportive children, which were there for me. And it gave me time. Being alone really gave me time to do that deep soul searching and to really, look at my life and, what did I want out of my life? Where did I want my life to go? Did a lot of reading, a lot of praying, a lot of meditating, and bit by bit. I like what you say on your website about life is like a tennis game, which I love tennis. But it's so true. The first time you're out there, you try to hit the ball, you can hardly hit it. And the same thing with your emotional healing. The first few times you try to make progress, it's difficult. But as you practice and you practice and you practice, it gets easier and it gets better. And still to this day, we're all working on ourselves. We're all on a healing journey.
It will never end, actually.
Never.
No. And it's not about
Absolutely.
perfection. A lot of people will ask me, Veronique, well, I don't think I can meditate. And I tell them, anybody can meditate. It's a personal experience. There's not a perfect way to do this. And it's one of the most healing, therapeutic, physically benefiting things that we can do for ourselves as women. Lowers your blood pressure, the cortisol, stress, all of that, which are the things that really, take toll on our bodies. I'm absolutely convinced that many times cancer is a result of high stress and upset and trauma.
Absolutely.
The second question I had for you, do you think our medical system, they're too anxious to get the old knife out with the lumpectomies and the this and the that? I mean, everybody's very anxious to cut away. And I have so many friends that have had lumpectomies, and it's a little scary, you know. Why aren't they taking alternative approaches like, you know, you did first to see what happens? Why can't American medicine embrace that more?
Well, that's a huge question, a multi-billion-dollar question.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, our health industry is more of a disease industry, and one spoke of the wheel supports another, and I find that so traumatic for women. You know, they're diagnosed with breast cancer one day, and the next day they want to have them in chemotherapy and radiation and surgery. I tell women all the time, once you get your diagnosis, you have time. It's not like you're going to drop dead in a week or in a month or in a year. Many times, and statistics have shown us, if we do nothing with the cancer, the chances of our living out the cancer or living a longer life is better than if you start doing all the poking and the prodding and the poison and the burning. And so it's a sensitive subject, and some women feel comfortable in the hands of their medical doctor, and I support that and applaud that. But I just tell women, you know, make an informed decision. It's your body, it's your health, and before you do anything, do your research, talk to people, and know what you're getting into.
Where can women go for research?
They can go to my website, breastcancerconqueror.com.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that I write in my blogs is backed by science. It is evidence-based, and that's very important for women to know. That make sure when you read things online that if you click on the hyperlinks that it brings you to a published study. For example, in my book, I have over 500 published references, published studies that prove the effectiveness of natural medicine. So it's not just new age fluff, but it is backed by science. And so again, you know, make an informed decision. If you're going to have surgery, then find out statistically, you know, what the odds are, or find out who is the best surgeon, and, you know, find out if you're going to do chemotherapy, what are the side effects, or if you're going to take this herb or this vitamin, what are the effects. So, you know, make informed decisions.
Is there, in your opinion, if you were going to pursue the traditional medical path, is there, you know, an area of the country that offers better treatment than, say, others? I mean, I live in Boston, which is a huge medical area with just, you know, 2 or 3 of the biggest hospitals in the world. But are there some hospitals that are more recognized for advancement in treatment of breast cancer than other facilities?
If there are, I'm not really familiar with them. You know, I do know of certain medical doctors that are taking more of a comprehensive approach and are including homeopathy and naturopathy and doing something like something called IPT, which is insulin potentiating therapy, which is only 10% of the chemo dose. And so there's very few side effects, there's no hair loss, and it works on the premise that cancer cells, we've talked about how they love sugar, so they have more insulin receptor sites on their cell wall. And so if you inject insulin with a small amount of chemotherapy, the cancer cells are going to gobble that up. You know, they put it in with a little bit of sugar, and so it enters the cell much more easily instead of trying to force it in there with, you know, massive doses that are so toxic that it kills the healthy cells along with the cancer cells. So there's more and more advancements in that line, and we're seeing more and more doctors that are open to that sort of treatment.
Interesting. You know, insulin is now coming up for being recognized for treating many significant illnesses. And recently I heard about a study where they were looking at dementia and Alzheimer's in women, and some type of insulin treatment, because that's also becoming prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Why do you think cancer cells like sugar?
It's their nature. It's just how they're designed. The DNA mutation, they don't use oxygen. They use sugar glycolysis, fermentation, in order to continue to multiply and recreate. Their Krebs cycle, their chemical cycle to metabolize things is much different than a healthy cells. And so that's just the nature of the beast, so to speak.
You are so generous. You are giving a wonderful free gift to our audience. And I would love if you would describe a little bit about these books that you'll be giving. And I have them here called Shocking Truth.
The Shocking Truth series, yes.
Yes.
This was something I started a few years ago, and I do want to add more to them. But the first one is about the big squeeze, the mammograms. Is that really the best way to detect cancer? Is it really the best way to prevent breast cancer? Well, we know that there are a lot of studies that are showing otherwise. So it gives you some information about other technologies that you may include to really practice early detection. The second one is about the connection with the emotions and stress and breast cancer. And yes, we know that there's definitely a connection there. And the third one is about our little, well, I don't have my cell phone, but here's a cordless phone, but our little electronic devices and the problem with electropollution. Electropollution is probably the worst form of pollution that we've created in the last 100 years. And it's been proven to cause DNA damage, suppresses your immune system, suppresses your melatonin, which melatonin kills cancer cells, it weakens your thyroid. And so there's a lot of information that women need to know about cell phone use and electropollution.
Oh, they sound wonderful. Thank you so much. And also, would you give your website address and how people can reach out to you? Because I know there's probably many, many women today that are going to say, oh my gosh, I need to find out more about what's happening here with my body and the options that I have.
The best place would be to go to Breast Cancer Conqueror, that's CONQUEROR.com. And you can also find me on Facebook, Breast Cancer Conqueror, and Twitter as well.
Well, this has been such a joy. I've met you in person. I've heard you speak before. You're absolutely dynamic and refreshing, and the way you share your own challenge and the pictures of what you went through, and then to see you today so healthy, so beautiful, so radiant, and to do it in such a healthy way instead of subjecting yourself to surgery and chemicals and burning tissue out of your body and whatnot, that it's a joy. So again, I thank you so much for being part of this and sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye.